Crazy meltdowns on paternity court.
The medic, get the medic.
Someone call the medic, please. No, leave me alone right now, please, Mom. Stop. Oh my God.
Imagine you're 15 and just bought a new coloring book sitting in your room, deciding which page to color first. And boom! You're told the man you believe to be your dad ain't your daddy. Can you believe the shock? Well, paternity peeps, meet Miss Henderson. She has lived your worst nightmare.
You know, it's lonely. My kids, they want to know their grandparents. My daughter, she tells me all the time, Mom, we're gonna find your dad. I'm just ready, but I need to know the truth.
Oh, the wannabe daddy's princess has been living in a shell for years in the quest for her father. She had traveled mountains, deserts, forests. Oh, where am I headed? Sorry. However, her children's desire to know their grandparents had pumped her up. And this time, she was ready for the answers.
I know that she's saying that, you know, he's my father, he's my mother, but I need to know the truth. I don't want to just think that someone's my father. I don't want that. I want to know.
Growing up, you were told Mr. Henderson, this is who you grew up knowing was your father.
Yes, and during the time that I stayed there, I was treated different from my sisters.
Doubts emerged when Miss Henderson was treated differently from her sisters and told she was adopted. Mr. Henderson had suspected her paternity due to her mother's pregnancy after a California visit. Let's listen to what Daddy Henderson had to say about this.
And she was your wife, so why was there any question about Miss Henderson's paternity?
She left me in California, went to visit her mother in Arkansas. When she came back, about a month or two, my other daughter told me that my mom is pregnant.
Surprisingly, Mr. Henderson discovered he was listed as the father on Miss Henderson's birth certificate, though he didn't remember. Talk about being responsible. But I'm still guessing how Mr. Rycraw came into the picture if Mr. Henderson has been all over the mom. Oops, all over the place.
I asked my mom after that about him. She told me, I don't know why William thinks he's your dad. The last time I was with him, I was 18, and I had you when I was 25 or 26.
My sister, when it comes to telling the truth on certain things, they'll beat around the bush. And like she didn't answer him when she came back, she didn't tell her the truth either.
Oh man! According to Miss Henderson's aunt, she took the confession out of her sister, adding that you can't lie to me because I'm your twin. Okay, so the bottom line is that they were both having affairs during the window of conception. Here, Mr. Rycraw shared his perspective.
I believe she's my daughter because before Karen went back to California, I believe she was pregnant. I believed that she was pregnant. When we met, it was so emotional. But I accepted her because I believed in my heart that she was.
Miss Henderson believed that Mr. Rycraw might be her biological father, as suggested by their mother. But here's the twist. Even though they applied for a paternity test, but never got to read it because the defendant called her claiming I'm not your daddy. What drama!
The probability of paternity was determined to be 0.00%. He's not your biological father.
Get the medic, get the medic.
Someone call the medic, please.
Oh boy, did the twin just faint? Well, we don't want any more dizzy dropping in the courtroom. But what can be done? I mean, everything was just so rough on the family. So how about we just focus on the DNA results and provide Miss Henderson with the closure she's been looking for years.
You are not the father. How are you feeling?
I'm just even more scared.
When you say you're even more scared, why?
What if it's nobody, you know?
Okay, if you think that was overwhelming enough, you haven't seen this one yet. Once again, thanks to a mom for her masterful art of conflicting narrative. Miss Brister was challenged by Mr. Morris, who firmly declared that he was 100% certain that she was his biological daughter.
I met Mrs. Smith in 1984. At the time, I was involved with a breakdancing crew. When I met Mrs. Smith, this one evening as we were performing, I knew right then I wanted to be with her.
Oh boy, we have the step-up stars, aka the dancing crew. At the time, Miss Smith used to attract a lot of attention, and he had to constantly protect their love. If that's like Mission Impossible. Well, if that was the case, then why did he leave?
You say you were only with her. She said she was only with you.
I came back to town after hearing it from 3 different individuals that she was pregnant with my child at the time. And we stayed in 2 different towns. So when I found out, when I heard it more than once, more than twice, I would say, I left.
However, the story didn't end there. Miss Brister, as a child, had been told that the man on her birth certificate was her father. And it was all done because the baby mama didn't want to be with Mr. Morris. What are we, Boo Boo the Fool? Come on. But wait, listen to this surprise.
I've always known the man on my birth certificate to be my father. I was about 16. Mr. Morris, he came to visit. He introduced himself as my dad. I don't remember the entire conversation that we had, but I do remember saying that he was my dad. He was there for maybe like a week or so, then he left.
So he comes into town, he says, I'm your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, here's where everything gets even more interesting. Then in 2015, Miss Smith dropped another bombshell suggesting that a deceased man named Mr. Woods could potentially be Miss Brister's father. Mommy, what are you doing? Y'all better just give away the truth. But why so many stories?
I just didn't want her to. I was trying to protect her.
Is it because you knew that more than one man could potentially be her father? Or is it because you believed Mr. Morris was her biological father and he was living such a life outside the lines?
Yeah.
Which one?
The way he was living.
But we know when no one understands anything, Judge Lake does. She recognized the profound confusion and emotional toll these stories had taken on the defendant, as all of this has started when the defendant was just 9 years old. Now that's what you call a traumatic childhood.
I need to ask you, what makes you so certain she is your biological daughter?
When I was incarcerated, there was sheriff deputies there from the town where she was living at, which I didn't know nothing about. They presented me with paperwork saying that I was being sued by Internal Revenue for child support. I had the papers looked at by a law clerk.
My question is, if you've known who the daughter is, Mr. Morris, why haven't you reached out to her? But the alleged daddy just spun a tale of saying that he had so much on his plate as he had experienced to her family members. Well, sir, we don't buy such testimony here. We just take it as someone's been trying to hide from their responsibilities.
Before I would let the police intervene in your life and destroy the image you have of me as your father in your mind, I decided to leave.
So you were saying that you knew you were her biological father, but because of the life you were living at that time,
Yes, ma'am, the
you
criminal
felt
element.
it
Yes, ma'am.
was best
Yes,
to
ma'am.
leave her out of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, man. After almost 3 decades of trying to find the biological father, the moment for Miss Brister had finally arrived. And today, she was about to be reunited with her daddy. Well, I'm still not sure. How about we just take a look at what Judge Lake has to say? Drum roll, please. The DNA results are here.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Morris, you are not her father. I'm very sorry.
Can I hug my daughter?
Absolutely, is that okay?
Yet another case of mommy secrets. The stage was set for the mother-daughter duo, Miss Lawrence and Miss Simmons. The tension hung thick in the air as Miss Lawrence began narrating how her mother decided to drop a 28-year-old bombshell. What a perfect time for a secret of such magnitude, right?
She called me about 6 months ago. When I answered the phone, she was hysterically crying, and of course, I didn't know what was going on. And I'm asking her, what's wrong, what's wrong? She's beating around the bush, telling me all these random stories. And then finally, she goes into saying that she met some random man on the bus and that he could possibly be my father.
Isn't that just the kind of news you'd want dropped during a casual phone call? Well, the mommy had finally stumbled upon a potential biological father. Huh, what can we say other than just believing better late than never?
I ran into Rudy on the bus one day on the way from school. And I'm like, I know him, from my past. I've never forgotten him. I say, excuse me, what is your name? Is your name Rudolph? And he says, yes. I say, Rudolph Rockamore. He says, yes, it is. He asks me, who are you? And I look at him like this. I'm like, for real? Really?
Now, imagine a chance bus encounter with an ex-lover. Miss Simmons, after recognizing this long-lost acquaintance, decided it was high time to delve into the depths of the past. They eventually broached the topic. Because, let's face it, there's no better way to bring up the possibility of parenthood than during a bus trip.
I just want to know why you didn't tell me before. Like,
I couldn't. I had no idea.
When you say you
No idea about
couldn't,
what?
Miss Simmons, why do you say you couldn't?
The man that she calls her father, I mean, she's a daddy's girl, most definitely. I didn't want to break the bond between her and her dad. You know, I thought I would never see him again, so I felt that there was no reason for me to bring this up to her.
Oh, but the plot thickens. Why didn't Miss Simmons spill the beans sooner? Well, she couldn't, of course. The man Miss Lawrence believed was her dad was just too great to risk hurting their bond. Besides, who needs clarity when you can have years of uncertainty?
wherever he would go, I would go. My dad always made sure I had money in my pocket. Always the flyest. I mean, back in those days, I'm an 80s baby, so Elysis, Filas,
Trust me, I was
LA
alive in the
years,
80s too. I won't tell my age, but I remember trying to be fly as well.
Yeah,
So you had a good relationship.
Me and my dad we still do to this day. We have a really, really good relationship.
Fast forward to the point where Mr. Roquemore made his grand entrance. Despite Miss Lawrence not being sure, there was no instant connection or resemblance. Shocking, right? Or maybe not, considering how this entire saga has played out. This case just keeps on getting interesting.
How do you feel right now?
I have butterflies in my stomach. I really do. I don't feel like there's any like attachment or like he could be my dad or.
You didn't
I
feel
mean, I
anything.
look at my dad, person that I call dad. I look at him and I'm like, that's my dad. That's who I look like.
The defendant did record an exact testimony, as the mother told. It felt like he was reading a script. However, can you just see the resemblance? This man gotta be her dad. If that ain't happening, I ain't playing. Just listen to Mr. Roquemore explaining his side of the gig.
When we separated, I used to come back by her mom's house and you know, just see if I can see her out or anything, but I guess they had moved and...
Yes, Miss Lawrence, yeah.
Why do you want to know if I'm your child or not?
Because I think it's important to know who are my kids, if I have kids.
Yeah, that for certain. Now more stole at the swings or big wheels with a daddy. So as we wrap up this roller coaster of revelations and emotions, the question remains, what will the paternity test reveal? All right, Judge Lake, it was time for you to do your magic.
Mr. Roquemore, you are her father. No, leave me alone right now, please, Mom. Stop. Oh my God.
Welcome into the noisy world of marriage and meet Mr. and Mrs. Carmen, a couple whose love story could make anyone want to sprint down the aisle. Their 18-year-long union was like a fairy tale, or so it seemed, but something sinister was lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce for the husband, denying his wife's child.
18 years of marriage, 27 we have been together. Today, our life is really dependent on what's gonna happen today.
Wow. And so your marriage is on the line.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've been in turmoil because of this paternity issue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's rewind a bit, shall we? It all started with a dispute over a rental car. Yeah, you heard that right, a rental car. Because when it comes to saving a marriage, nothing says I love you like arguing over automotive choices. Who knew a set of car keys could send a relationship spiraling into the abyss? Right, Mr. Carmen?
From day one.
And I see tears in your eyes when you look at her.
Yes, I love all 5 of my children by this one woman. I'm right here with this woman.
And I'm right here with you. And that's your daughter.
And I don't have no kids nowhere else. I have nobody nowhere else. And I've been doing my job in my house.
And so you are in the home together now.
We are.
You're married.
Yes, we are.
During their temporary separation, Mr. Carmen decided to embark on a journey of independence. He found himself a quaint little place he affectionately referred to as the Boom Boom Room. Now, don't let your imagination run wild just yet. It wasn't exactly a library for intellectual discussions.
He went and rented an apartment.
Yeah, I went and got my own.
Turned it into a boom boom room. I had to pay somebody $100 to go into the home to see what was going on. And it was party central.
And so a boom boom room is what, a party house?
It's a party house.
With women?
With women.
Now, as the saying goes, all's fair in love and texting. Mysterious text messages began to appear on Mrs. Carmen's phone, and they were as subtle as a bullhorn in a library. Thanks for being a stepdad, they said. Oh, the sweet nothings of modern romance.
He showed me a videotape. I gave him the $100 bill. He showed me a videotape with him with all kind of women kissing on him, sitting all on his lap, doing all kinds of stuff. So then I decided I gotta go do me. I'm not supposed to sit around, even though, and I can't believe we had been married so long. We should have been able to work through this. But I wasn't about to sit around. I went and did me. I went and found somebody, and I had to go and do me.
Oh boy, the text messages didn't stop at compliments though. They escalated to demands for a DNA test for their 4-year-old daughter, Renasia. Because nothing says family bonding like requesting a paternity test from a mystery man's family member. The drama was starting to reach soap opera levels.
Thanks for being a stepdad.
No, that was the highlight of the text.
Oh, the
highlight. That was the highlight of the thanks for what? Y'all jiving. Okay, so then we gonna move right along. Step aside so Lakeisha and my cousin can be together. What? You jive.
I've never seen that, Your Honor.
We demand a DNA test for Renasia. Mystery man's people.
And yep, that's about it, people. The mystery man who has been sending messages must be thinking that he's the biological father. But Mr. Carmen, it's been 3 years, and that's a lot of time thinking. Let's see what Miss Carmen has to offer.
Is this baby
This
his?
was summer 2011. It's supposed to be over with. Girl was 3 going on 4, but this 2000, it's 6 years later, they asking for a paternity test.
Miss Carmen?
Yes, Your Honor.
He's saying that the window of conception does not match up to the separation. It matches up to a period of time when you are back in the home supposedly working on the marriage.
Well, on that note, how about we just focus on their love story? What do you think will be rewritten? Or will the defendant, Mr. Carmen, end up in another boom boom room? Only Judge Lake can provide us with a concrete answer. Let's fast forward to the DNA envelope.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Carmen, you are the father. Oh, Jesus. Oh, hold on.
I told you.
Okay, get up.